Wait, we do proper titles now? When has that ever been a thing on this channel? Here, we've gotten to this point, the point where I would normally dump a bunch of anime battle simulator lore, but I already did that, so it'd be milking myself if I did that. In case you do want to know that history, just click the card above. Here, I'm perfectly aware that I suck at explaining things and that I have a version 2, but honestly, that guy in the comment of said video was right. Holy shit, did I do a piss poor job of properly explaining anything and just lazily ported the stuff from the museum I made for my old projects. So, a lot of the time, unless you were some jitterbrain or did text-to-speech as an actual hobby, you'd have no idea what the fuck was going on, because I intentionally Sonic Origin had watched old bin the end all, be all of explanations. So, by all means, I shit you not, version 1, despite being really old and anime keepers being firmly fucking killed and buried 6 feet under, is the definitive version, not counting an old video that has never been released on the channel and wasn't originally for the internet anyway. But I don't think I have to explain to you that before Anime Cross, the landscape of Roblox anime games was barren as heck, unless you were a huge fan of Naruto, then 2016 and 2017 it were the golden age respectively. Everything else should be self-explanatory. So, you could consider this a version 3, though I personally wouldn't, as in order for this to be definitive, I'd have to actually try, and that's not the name of this dumb goofy ass dumbass channel. So, if you already know the history, because you were there or you are actually so much of a super fan that I need to give you more credit than I even give myself, skip to the marked point in the description. That's where all the new stuff begins. And this time, I'm making sure to have what I type saved in Notepad so I can go and make proper subtitles. No big whoops fuck up from me this time. So, first off, I need to get the important thing off of the way. What the hell is Anime Cross and why was it so good despite it clearly being dated even when it came out? I mean, you've heard me shit talk the sequel and the studio behind it a lot, even classic Tomo made a crude joke, and even trolled the community. A lot. But what defines Anime Cross? What was its appeal? First off, Anime Cross was a 3D arena fighter made in the Roblox platform, which its main gameplay loop are these murder mystery style rounds, but instead of finding out who the killer is, a bunch of people dressed as faceless anime characters beat the shit out of each other until they die. If I remember correctly, it ranged from being pretty slow-paced to having a medium pace at times, and occasionally had double point events. What set it apart from, well, the stuff in its own genre, was the ability to play as your favorites, with key presses rather and having to use the default Roblox inventory system, which by all means was a massive improvement. It also looked decently good, even if a few assets weren't the most accurate. I think I can talk about the pros all day, and I already spoke about the cons with the 3 updates before it stopped receiving them, but a lot about the cons during the game's run, universally. What held it back from being a better game with a cult following like a mini Team Fortress 2? Coin power creep was massive in this regard. Initially it wasn't too bad, you could honestly compete with the higher tiers if you played well enough as a cheap character, and the game, although highly illegal, had to make its ends meet somehow. But with any kind of money incentive, when characters cost more and more, the overpowered nature of the character, to some people, has to be worth the cost. That's what eventually led to the game breaking and unfun updates. Plus, grinding them could be infuriating at times. Second of all, no skins. It's understandable considering how Anime Battle Simulator was the trendsetter for that, but in hindsight, do you really want only one appearance for your character and that's it? What kind of value would that have? If anything, have the skins and costumes be what's so expansive and balance the characters based on matchups and casual play. Competitive play balancing would be nice, but Anime Cross was a party game first and foremost in my eyes, so maybe not in this case. Plus, with a lot of characters, if you played in the Cell Games arena, you could honestly just spam projectiles, and because the game didn't register what was a skill and what wasn't, you could make back your energy immediately and just stay up there. Given how people could just snipe them out of the sky, it wasn't too awful, but still a con. I'd say keeping yourself in the air could be a great mechanic, but it has to be properly balanced. Like, say, an air attack would gradually bring the character down to the ground, like in a lot of Marvel vs. Capcom games, but still cause the momentum of the fall. After a certain amount of using the same move consecutively, the momentum could come back. Gosh, me talking about potential fixes makes me think that a remastered Animal Cross with these fixes would honestly be a banger of a game. Heck, in an ideal world, Animal Cross but with Sonic 2013 style remasters, the old transformation system, character balance patches, and a few new characters would be the ideal Animal Cross 2. But then we have the real Animal Cross 2. Here I also have videos upon videos covering all the problems that game has, and continues to have. If you want an in-depth shit list and what I'd personally do, go check out the playlist. But do you want to know if it was a good replacement for Animal Cross 1? At first, yes. Like during its really early stages when only the starters and Sadama were playable characters. Overall, the base was really good, even more greedy, but serviceable. But then the future updates hit like a truck and gradually made the game worse. Right now? Hell fucking no. Stay away from it like the plague. It's the worst example of what not to do with 3D arena fighters that have a solid foundation. Is it a good sequel? Like, in its final state? Did this shit be an old-ass Tiger Electronic handheld compared to the paragon that Animal Cross 1 was? It was like an old-ass Xenoverse 1 compared to Xenoverse 2, but if Xenoverse 2 decided to forget everything and reference Ultimate TKG for insaturation and code it like it's Teiketsu. That's how it feels to play Animal Cross 2 in its modern state. You want to play the genre with a community that's alive and well and not tied to a shitfest of created characters and level ups in a multiplayer-only game? Go play Animal Battle Arena instead. It obviously has its own problems, not pretending like loot boxes aren't the gayest thing ever, but at least as a game, and balance-wise, it's better in every regard, except the graphics and animations. Alright, so, that should bring us to the important bit. I think I owe it directly to you, the listener, to properly explain the technical history of Animal Battle Simulator. What was, or is? Honestly, you can still play the game, just that it's honestly really unfair right now and all the assets need updating to filtering enabled. What was Animal Battle Simulator? Or, if you really want to be insistent that Team Syndacor's version, which is a completely different game, is deserving of the game to not have a prefix. What was Tomo's Animal Battle Simulator? The earliest playable version was Final Bond but Anchor. Hell, we still even have that version. Still stand by that it's better than Final Bond. Oh, it was by a different name, as you probably saw from version 1. Animal Cross TKG was the initial name. It's a nice starting point for my first time developing a public game, and proof that perhaps having grand visions when your game experience was making RPG Maker games wasn't a good idea. But I'm still really fond of it. You could call it an arena fighter, but it's more of an adventure game with combat mechanics. Now, the initial concept, completely different from that product, and even completely different from the modern version of Animal Cross TKG which I have in my back pocket. There's a whole ass story and rabbit hole behind the separation between Animal Battle Simulator and Animal Cross TKG, but what you need to know is that the team-based element ultimately separated that product from Animal Battle Simulator. The main man to credit for the oldest playable version of Animal Battle Simulator, or what we call Legacy Mode, is Firewalker 05. I've definitely mentioned him before, great guy to work with, absolute trooper having to deal with effectively a teenager with a pipe dream. There were some honestly pretty dope stuff I made after it became pretty clear that Animal Overwatch was not a cheat, still having a semblance of an idea of the idea, but the characters had 3 different modes to choose from. Each had classic morph stats they'd be focused on. On top of that, non-playable characters would be in the form of cards that boost stats. I can't imagine how much of a scripting nightmare that'd be and I'm super sorry about that. Eventually that phase died, so I intentionally put transformations on different costumes, and we eventually landed in what Animal Battle Simulator currently would be in its heyday. Also thanks to Lasuga, Oishii, Izanagi 456, whatever you'd like to call him or whatever he goes by nowadays. Animal Battle Simulator, or rather, the final Animal Battle Simulator, is a 3D fast-paced, balls-to-the-wall budget brand arena fighter, made so it can be picked up and played immediately and all characters in their own right are optimal. By everything being fucking broken and spam-filled. It was the first of its kind in regards to presentation, codes that unlocked hidden characters, PvE fights, a bunch of characters that got introduced to Roblox because of this game. Even all of its lobbies had love and care put into it despite the game not really being comparable to Animal Cross at all in terms of scripting quality. Think of it as how some people have nostalgia for Sonic 2006 because of what it was trying to be. The execution somersaulted into itself, but at least I really enjoyed keeping the game freshly updated. Hell, you can see the full list of everyone who helped make the original possible at Anim Battle Simulator 3's Trello. I take really good pride in this shit. But this begs the question. If it's the first Anim Battle Simulator, why the hell do you see Team Syndacor's versions everywhere? Well, it's bloody simple. Someone didn't bother to check who had the name, or Roblox did a Roblox, then put a bunch of ad money and hype for what essentially could be a massive departure from what the original was trying to accomplish. Also, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, unless you have fun nostalgia for the game, were part of the dev team, or really love 2017 budget brand games with anim skins. Anim Battle Simulator 1 could never strive to be as sound, fundamentally, as Anim Battle Arena or Anim Cross 1. Do I say it's better than, or dare say a replacement to, Anim Cross 2? Fuck yeah, looking at a brick wall is better than Anim Cross 2, and if your project happens to be more fun than a brick wall, congrats, you already are better than whatever Astral Games could produce in the modern era. So, I think you know the backstory behind the conception of Anim Battle Simulator 2, I think we all do at this point. I'm making Godlink's demo Ishii brings up a wonderful new method of creating memes. Yes, it's that simple. As someone who actively, in my teenage hormonal stupidity, tried to interject in the project, I'm going to tell you right now. Was it a good sequel to Anim Battle Simulator 1? Well, depends on what you mean, but based on my definition, hell fucking yes it was. Underrated masterpiece, and it's a damn shame that I don't have the latest version. It was a lot more slower paced with methodical movements, standing still at times, but in its place were genuine, awesome ideas and concepts by Lasiga that made people who didn't like anim games blush at how masterful it was. If it got the chance to be refined and had a round system, even like the first game, I'd damn say that the series got the biggest glow up in centuries. I am so sorry for not letting the game reach the peak of what it could be, and even to this day, I'm haunted by both my mistakes. In its last known state, could it have rivaled Anim Battle Arena or Anim Cross 1? It'd just be a decent bit below. What came next was filtering enabled, the reason why these games aren't all that playable today, then me lit action role-playing as Sega for 3 years, eventually diminishing my reputation to the point where even massive fans of the older works want nothing to do with me anymore. Both sides here, absolutely garbage. I had way too big ambitions again, anim keepers being a thing that existed, the constant begging and conscriptions. Then you have people going ballistic over a shitty situation that no one was happy with, because our nostalgia was fucking gone. If you were around post-filtering enabled and pre-Anim Battle Simulator, it was a fucking nightmare to be in the clown car. I didn't cover the drama before, because it's pretty unimportant to Anim Battle Simulator 1 and 2, but here, holy shit. Let this be a lesson to all aspiring concept designer directors. If your game fucking dies, don't try and outdo yourself without a reasonable scope to make yourself feel better. Luna, if you happen to be reading or hearing this, despite it being a depressed and moody version of yourself that said it, you were absolutely right. I needed to back the actual fuck up, make groundwork of that idea, establish how we're going to get there, and take it from there. Now that we got all the essential history out of the way, let's talk about the social side of all this. It's my struggle after all, I need to be pretty genuine about all this. Hello. Tomo backstory time? Yes, Tomo backstory time. Yes, you are aware of the not happy with state of Anim Cross bit, but did I tell you that I was so excited to start Anim Cross TKG that I created my server the day of me joining Discord? Fun, I was optimistic. No matter where in life the project went, I had pretty high hopes, excited for a new venture and doing something genuinely good that people could be proud of, look back and say, wow, that was cool. That's where the first few prototypes began, as fun new reimaginings that may or may not have been possible. Did it look cool and get people excited? I don't know, but it sure as hell got me excited. I had highs, I had really lows, but the crew I had were truly the best for the job. and I do not regret meeting any of them. Except, if they weren't crew members but slackers, by all means we booted them immediately. I always thought of an battle simulator, even if it was dumbed down, even if it wasn't the best, or that one period where Animal Cross 2 was better than it, or if Sasuke was overpowered for the 9 billionth time, as one of my best creations. This was before I became a writer with stories people loved to read. Hell, it even started with Animal Battle Simulator. The lore for that game was goofy and wild, but damn did I love every second of establishing neat plot points throughout the lobby, hiding lore in some places, even NPCs that the player could talk to. If it missed it, or never heard of an battle simulator until now, in the lore, the thing you were playing was a retail product, a sort of entertainment thing where data of a bunch of different universes all came together. The lore was fleshed out some more to have origins tying to a bridge between the My Hero Academia and Naruto worlds, with the simulation being a long-abandoned training complex that, with some time, proved itself as an immensely popular application, as it could gather data from historic events. But the Zero Mortals plan, because of this connection, had an even easier time getting to different universes, hence encounters. These were events that happened in the real world, not in the simulation, letting players attempt to capture and restrain Broly, and in the second encounter, to guarantee the success of eliminating Goku and Vegeta, as a cult member who worshipped Zamasu. And, well, the canon outcome is that Zamasu wins. Everyone is eradicated, or at least everything the simulator connected to. My initial reaction to Anim Battle Simulator 2 is, well, the worst take known to man. No cap, past me was blind as hell. But the lore of Anim Battle Simulator 2, okay, I'm going to be honest, it was really cringe, but it's important for the narrative so I have to cover this. A Chaco from My Hero Academia obtains Ultra Instinct and does fairly well against the Zero Mortals plan, considering a tournament held by Goku was going on, until everything goes to shit and the entire multiverse gets erased. Nothing else is really canon, so the lore dump ends here, but fuck it, I think it was baller back then. Hell, maybe this sounds extremely cool for you right now to hear. But, you know how low a man can go, until they've sunk to the bottom. Well, personally, through all that post-filtering enabled enforcement crap, if I reflect back on it, it was a necessary period that needed to happen in order to avoid making the same mistakes twice. However, I felt like dog shit during the said period. Think about it. Your beloved game is gone. The sequel? Gone. Like, I know I'm not the strongest-willed or mentally sound YouTuber, I straight am aware that I'm not, and never have been, and through that period, I have done some real messed up stuff, no matter how justified I was. This is technically the 4th time I've ever been taken for a massive pillow driver to the skull, and even if the 3rd was only a minor inconvenience, it really broke my heart, and I'm sure other people have felt the same but didn't say anything about it. Heck, that period of self-worthlessness still continues nowadays. I've got a natural implicit paranoia due to unhealthy coping mechanisms that I have put onto myself. I'm too smart to gaslight myself into thinking someone would help at this point, because I fucking blew it. I did everything in my power, before I even realized what the hell I was doing, to lose all those connections with those people I put so highly, and even old friends because of my own grief. Now obviously there's exceptions to this, like the Serum incident and whatever shit logic was trying to pull, but what I want you to understand is that I'm a flawed human being. An immensely flawed human being. So, given all that information in mind, what I'm going to say comes from the bottom of my own, honest heart. This might even get quite depressing, so, if you don't want a man opening up about their emotions, skip to the part where I actually explain what I'm working on now, please. It's not fun being a guy who has a lot on his plate, and a lot more strapped to his desk. I love what I do, I really do, but it feels as if what I do isn't appreciated as much as it should be. It's straight up criminal to even think about it. My brain keeps trying to tell me that I'm all washed up, constantly taunting me, making my happy moments unhappy because of this one thing. And it only gets worse the longer this goes on. I don't open up to anyone in the internet about it, because this stupid cloud of organ matter needs to remind me how much people would despise me if I did, like the old days. So a lot of the time, I just cry during what should be my happy time, whenever I get to sleep. It's honestly the only thing I can do. Go and sleep. I already have stuff that makes this stuff a nightmare, but dump layers of trauma in it and the laziness thing might just be a sign of severe, crippling depression. I'm bloody terrified of leaving my server, because I'm afraid of what could happen, who recognizes me, who hates me. And I beat myself up over it, fueling the depression even further, because I can't be the same man as Shadaz. I can't do what he did for me. I'm not a compassionate, ultra-chill, great extrovert. I'm the exact bloody opposite, except maybe the compassionate bit. Occasionally I pray, but that falls on deaf ears, as whatever motivation I do get, I flounder. And it only saddens and pisses me off to no end. It's not a sob story, if I'm being as brutally honest as possible about it, which is the sad part in the first place. I miss all those old friends of mine, even if I never get the chance to check up on them or wallow in my own pity, until I eventually forget, and to my stupid little brain, I'm like a beggar at the side of the road for them. Who'd give time or money to the beggar? They're probably a drug addict. Except I'm not. But it doesn't stop my brain from thinking I am. Welcome back to the video. I'm deeply sorry for whoever heard that mess. But what exactly am I working on now? Well, to say I'm glad you asked would be the understatement of the century, in either direction. Anim Battle Simulator 3 is the sequel to both previous games, keeping the fast-paced nature of the first game, while not only refining the experience, but making sure that a filtering-enabled incident can never happen again. It's my personal favorite project, and the one I spent the most time on. Almost every nook and cranny of thought has been covered in order to bring you the best experience possible in a new engine, that being Unity. As of right now, I'm currently prepping for an alpha build, meant for people to play and use, as an open source for their own projects, like I have in the past with Anim Battle Simulator 1. Want to know more and explore the project? The Trello is literally right there, go check it out. I made sure that you'll enjoy all of it, even in its alpha state. Okay, the plug is over, so you could leave the video now, since the high story lesson's over. I got to get rolling. Normally a lot of people would say this is the time to leave, as anything else is fluff at this point. But if you sat through the whole sad part, or just happen to care about what I'm doing that much, or want to reconcile, this can't be it, right? If you guessed that I need help, go treat yourself to a cookie. I know, it's a meme. But hear me out. I've been struggling for a while due to undisclosed or very much disclosed reasons. 2 years even. Unfortunate and sad, I know. But what I'm looking for isn't just a scripter. I want the team to be a unit, be able to get off its feet well, and no matter how much flattery you give me, I am not gonna be able to do it alone. So, if you personally like interpreting things and telling people what to do, but don't want to be an owner, I have the perfect dev position for you. You ever hear about a director? Well, what I just described is basically your job, trying to interpret what I write into something that can be worked with, and also be able to tell other people what to do. It's honestly a really cool position, even better than being an admin in the Discord. Plus, you get a cool game out of it that you can see you helped build. For other people like you. Doesn't that just warm your heart? Unlike other roles, there can only be 3 primary directors that aren't already council members, so make sure to get here, while supplies last. If you do, you have a personal thanks in my part, plus you get some cool bonus features for productivity and dedication. Not in the game, but with future suggestions.